To quote the great Joe Angel, for the third game in a row, the Miami Dolphins are in the win column.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
There's a team that's in our hearts. We've got love that won't depart. We are always in the stands, 'cause we're super Dolphin fans. Football is mighty rough. Winning gets awful tough. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins.
Hello, Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphin Show, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today and every day is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people. How about that Joe Angel reference to start the show?
See, I thought maybe you would appreciate me bringing out an old Florida Marlins, not even Miami Marlins, Florida Marlins radio announcer Joe Angel reference here on the show.
Tremendous.
Yeah,
The
that is
OG.
tremendous. I've also got more tremendous news for you, Brain, which is that the New England Patriots just returned a punt for a touchdown.
Let's go. 20 points. I'm there, baby.
This is amazing. That is a reference specifically to the Brain and I's home fantasy football league, which I know is not of interest to very much of anybody outside of here. But the Brain needs a 20-point night from the New England's defense and special teams to win his fantasy football this matchup this week, and I believe that would clinch his first round bye. So very exciting times here for the Katzker brothers. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about real football, and real football. Well, I don't know if you can say that's what the Miami Dolphins did on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints, but they won the game. The Miami Dolphins come away with a 21-17 victory over the New Orleans Saints, their third consecutive win, raising them up to 5-7 on the season and keeping them hanging on to that infamous in the hunt graphic. The Miami Dolphins remain in the hunt. And we know that is a point of much pride and joy for Miami Dolphins fans, for at least for a certain subset of Miami Dolphin fans. And we're gonna talk about that game here today. But before we do that, a reminder to all of you, if you have not done so already, to make sure you're following us on Blue Sky at Amplify to Rock, at Aaron the Brain, at Same Old Dolphins. We also invite you to download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphin Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, everywhere you get your podcast. Also, shout out to everybody watching live on the I'm a Miami Dolphin Fan Facebook page, run by the fantastic Mr. Carlos Hernandez. And of course, everybody watching on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Take a moment right now, if you will, to smash that thumbs up button, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it very much if you would take a moment to do that. Make sure you're visiting DolphinsTalk.com each and every day for all of the latest Miami Dolphins news and information. And of course, I got to take a moment. I got to plug it. You got to subscribe to Dolphins Talk Extra. If you are enjoying the content that we are bringing to you, we hope that you will come back and join us for extra content over there at Dolphins Talk Extra, which you can find at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. We have a couple of sales going on right now, and I'm putting the link in the chat for you. So if you're watching live on Monday night, you have until 11:59 p.m. tonight. You can subscribe to Dolphins Talk Extra for an entire year and get 50% off of that yearly subscription by using the code BF25, but only if you subscribe to that yearly option, you can get 25 or 50% off using the code BF25. You have until 11:59 Eastern time on Monday night. If you do that, you can take advantage of that deal. If you miss out on that, we are also offering for new subscribers an opportunity to get your first month for only a single dollar. I mean, subscriptions are already cheap. $3 a month is where it starts. But if you use the promo code DTXmas, you can get your first month for only $1, which, hey, you can hardly beat that. So head on over Dolphins Talk or patreon.com/Dolphins Talk and join us over there at Dolphins Talk Extra. You get bonus content, bonus podcasts, interactive shows. We're doing a live watch along on Sunday of the Dolphins Jets game. We're going to have brunch with Dolphins Talk. We're going to have a huge spread of food. We're going to have a good time hanging out, me, Aaron, and Mike at Mike's house watching the game. And if you're on Dolphins Talk Extra, you can come hang with us and interact with us as we do the watch along on Sunday. Again, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. We hope you'll join us over there. Brain, let's get into this football game. Miami Dolphins 21, New Orleans Saints 17. Before we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, let's just talk about just general overview, general takeaways from this game. Dolphins eke out a victory, I guess, at home, 21-17. What were your thoughts of this one?
I thought ran the ball well. It's become the identity of the football team, or it's what should be the identity of the football team. I feel like when things are going well right now, that is, and they're having a lot of success, particularly running off the right side of the offensive line. And it was good to get Austin Jackson back out there. I thought, all things, for the majority running the football, aside from short yardage, I thought the running game was really effective. Devon Achane obviously is the best player on this football team right now.
By miles, he's the best on the team right now.
But the passing game is putrid right now. Tua was awful in this game. Not bad, not mediocre. Like, Tua was awful in this game. He was, a net negative in this game. Like,
Tua was outplayed by Tyler Shuck.
Yeah. And in spite of that, the Dolphins were in control of this game for the vast majority of the football game. And it got a little, anxiety inducing at the end there, because the offense was unable to put the game away. But I thought the defense played a real solid game. But again, you have to take into consideration the opponent. I thought the Saints looked absolutely dreadful on offense, because they are absolutely dreadful on offense. But like NFL teams will do as the game goes on, they kind of figure a few things out, and they got a few things going. And it was almost enough for the Saints to tie the game up. And it made it a close game in a game that had no business being close, because the Dolphins, for whatever reason, just decided. And it wasn't just that Tua was bad. The entire passing game was bad, because not only was Tua bad, the pass protection was really bad too in this game. And Patrick Paul has had himself a very good sophomore season, a very good second season. He was dominated by Chase Young in this football game. Like, Chase Young was getting the jump around the corner on him all day long. There were holes on the interior of the offensive line. The Saints defense, their defensive coordinator was calling up the right blitzes at the right time. The Dolphins weren't accounting for it. And they looked all out of sorts in the passing game, which begs the question of, you're up by 2 scores in the game and they can't stop your running game. Why are you continuing to abandon the running game in favor of the passing game, which is where you are consistently getting yourselves into trouble? And so those were my biggest takeaways in this game. And I will say, great play by Minkah Fitzpatrick, who had a very good game. did have a missed tackle, but also had a strip sack. I mean, had the two biggest defensive plays of the game. The strip sack that causes the turnover in the first half, and then also the game-sealing 2-point conversion interception for a touchdown. What do we call that? A pick two?
Yeah, I don't know what McDaniel called it something in his post-game speech. He called it something about a safety, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a safety, but it
I
was
call it a pick two.
A pick two. I'll take a pick two, but either way, it was a big play. And it ended up being the difference in the game, really, because without that pick getting taken back the other way, it's 19-17 when the Saints recover that onside kick at the end, and then all they have to do is kick a field goal to win the game. So, that ended up being a really, really big play by Minka. But we'll get more into that here in just a moment. But here is the thing that I kind of want to talk about. My big takeaway from this game is it's a message that, listen, they're still in it, right? They're still alive. We're not going to get deep into the implications of what needs to happen, but basically the only way the Dolphins are making the playoffs, and I know that that's a big takeaway that people are looking at right now, is that they are still alive and in the hunt. And at this point in the season, the way things have gone, and we have certainly advocated for this team needing to kind of lose, because then that way they'll be able to, we feel like it's much more likely that this team is going to reset at the end of this season. I have made peace with the idea that a new general manager is going to come in, and it is going to be that person's decision as to what happens with the quarterback and what happens with the head coach. And I think kind of what plays out the rest of the way doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the new general manager to make the decision on what needs to happen. And so at this point, let's just let it play out. And, you cheer for what you want to cheer for. If you want to continue to cheer for the team to lose, that's fine. If you want to cheer for the team to win, that's fine too. But what I'm going to tell you is, in terms of getting things turned around to the point that this team could make the playoffs, it's going to take basically a complete collapse of all of these teams in front of them. The Chargers, the Bills. I mean, the Chiefs are on their way, but when you look at the playoff picture right now, there are teams like the Chargers and the Bills and the Jaguars with 4 and 5 losses. And you're going to need those teams the Houston Texans, you're going to need all of those teams to essentially collapse, and to collapse to a point where they have a worse record than the Dolphins, because with the Dolphins sitting at 10-7 and having 6 losses in conference, the odds of the Dolphins holding a tiebreaker over anybody that finishes with the same record as them are minuscule. So you've really got to cheer for these teams to just have the bottom completely fall out. And it's just, the odds are really slim. And again, it completely relies on the Dolphins needing to win out. So if you want to hold out that hope, fine. Because at the end of the day, they did what they did. They did what they needed to do, right? They won the game, right? So they're in it, but the odds are very much against them. And so we're not going to really talk about it much more than that. Other than from this point going forward, we'll say if they win, they're still in it, but we're not going to talk about it, in depth. We're not going to sit here and bring you a weekly rooting guide for what to root for or anything like that, because there's so much that needs to happen, and it is so unlikely. And basically at the end of the day, Dolphins just need to win and win and win and win and win. And if you get to week 18 and this team still has 7 losses, we'll dive into it in more specific terms at that point. But
The funniest part is of all the playoff implication stuff, and this will be the last thing to talk about it, is that of all the things that the Dolphins need to happen, what do you think is the least likely thing, or the thing that has the longest odds of happening?
The Dolphins winning out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So that, as David DeGraffenry just says in the comments here, he's like, I'm not convinced we beat the Jets this Sunday. Neither am I, frankly, based on the way the Dolphins played.
A lot of people, we were in the Discord, talking during the game, and I think a lot of people were like, this might be the last win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what this team has done, and when you look at specifically, and I mean, this kind of leads us right into it, and I guess we can talk about this to start. But when you talk about the Dolphins passing game and Tua specifically falling off, this passing game has gotten so bad, and the Dolphins are really establishing the run so well that when you look at those two things in opposition, teams are going to begin to do the exact opposite of what they'd always done previously with the Dolphins, which was prepare to deal with the passing game. Now, teams are going to realize that, the Dolphins are coming to town. We need to stop this running game. And if we can stop the running game and double down on doing that, we'll win the game, because we basically just need to dare Tua to beat us with his arm, because Tua is not going to be able to do it. And that's where we're at. Tua is so, I don't know how to describe it. He is super stiff. He's super slow. He is just he is a shadow of the player that he once was. And we were never I don't want to, I hate using the term Tua stands, but I know it is a term that people use. We were never that. I always thought we're pretty objective when talking about Tua, and there were things that he did well, but those things that he did well, are not there consistently anymore. He was never the most athletic quarterback. He was never going to beat a ton of people with his legs or anything like that. But he was at least mobile enough to be able to get away from defenders from time to time. He did have that ability. And now it's he sees somebody break through that line, like Chase Young would break through that line and blow past Patrick Paul, and he was dead in the water. And there was it's now to the point where if that ball doesn't get out of his hand instantly and somebody breaks through that line, he's as good as sacked. He has no ability to get out of that mess. And so you really have a Dolphins team that is playing with one hand tied behind its back when it comes to this quarterback. And it's only gotten worse over the course of the season. It's kind of a disaster, frankly.
And that's not the worst part of his game, because you could even argue right now that the Tua that we have now is less of a disaster when the pocket collapses than the Tua that we had a couple of years ago, because the Tua that we had a couple of years ago would try to do too much and would either risk injury and or a turnover. And this Tua is much more cautious and just kind of gets panicked and takes the sack and is very timid, which neither is good. Neither is what you want out of your 50, however many $1 million quarterback. But that's not the issue. Right now, the bigger issue is two things. Number one, the accuracy is not there the way that it has been in the past. Number two, the arm strength has clearly dipped. I think the injury that he suffered last year, and they were saying it was a hip injury, there seems to be a marked difference in velocity. And we've seen it all season long. And the third thing, which is the biggest thing, which is the thing that he's been criticized about, and then people have said, no, you're wrong. And at this point, and Tua kind of said it a few weeks ago. He said the quiet part out loud when people asked at the press conference, why didn't you target Jalen Waddle very much? And he said, well, I don't really see him or whatever. I'm a shorter quarterback. And then it brought up the whole idea of, well, is Tua just throwing to a spot? Is he is he actually seeing the defense? It has become very obvious, painfully clear, that Tua right now would rather get rid of the ball in less than 2.5 seconds by making up his mind before he even drops back exactly where he's going with the ball, exactly where he's going to throw it, and throws to a spot regardless of what's there, rather than actually looking at what the defense is doing and figuring it out post snap. He is not able to do that at this point. I don't know. I feel like at times he has been able, but now maybe it's the the offense has changed. Maybe it's the fact that Tyreek Hill isn't there and the offense is more limited in the passing game and the scope of what they can do. Maybe it's him just not having as much confidence. And so he's basically turned into this quarterback that, I mean, there was a play where Tua is throwing to a spot that he thinks Jalen Waddle should be. And Mark Schlereth is giving the analysis on the broadcast and saying, well, this isn't really on Tua because that's where Jalen Waddle is supposed to be. I'm sorry, you're the quarterback. When you drop back and you immediately see that Jalen Waddle gets bumped off of his spot, you know half a second into your drop that Jalen Waddle is not going to be where he needs to be for you to throw it in that spot. You need to go to your next progression, but he's not able to go through his progression. So this whole argument that Tua is a one-read quarterback, that's coming into play. The idea that he's throwing to a spot, he's not actually reading defenses, he's just a product of the system. All of that stuff is being proven and reinforced, and that's where we're at with a limited quarterback that can't read a defense, that can't beat anybody with his legs. It's a disaster. And look, here's the thing that happens when you win football games, these things tend to get swept under the rug. And so Tua played awfully in this game, but the Dolphins won. So Tua will be the unquestioned starter. And look, he's also paid a ton of money, and there's a whole bunch of contracting implications.
They're never going to bench him. I know there are people who are looking.
I don't know, man.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen until there is like the other thing is like I don't know that you have a better chance to win with Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers than Tua Tagovailoa. And
I don't know if you do either, but I'll say this. You signed Zach Wilson to a 1-year contract, and your whole logic in signing Zach Wilson to be your backup quarterback was like, oh, this is going to be, he's going to be the next Jets cast-off that turns into a good quarterback when he gets a reasonable opportunity. And I'm not saying that Zach Wilson's going to do that, but if Tua plays like this, and you're in it, you're absolutely in it. At some point, if he's playing at such a net negative that it's costing you your possibility of making the playoffs, like if he goes out in the first half of next week's game against the Jets and plays the way that he did for 4 quarters against the Saints, do I think he gets benched necessarily next week? Not necessarily. But if he does that, if he plays like he did this week, he plays like that next week, and the Dolphins squeak by the Jets, and then he comes out the next week against the Steelers and he plays like that for a half, and we're like in a game where we're down like 17-7 or something like that. I don't know. You might at some point want to say, hey, maybe we give Zach Wilson a try here because it's definitely not working with Tua. And we only have a finite amount of time to figure out if it could potentially be something with Zach Wilson. Quinn Ewers, I'm not that worried about because, like, whatever. He's on a rookie deal. He'll be here next year and probably the year after.
Yeah, I think we've got 5 games left to play. The next 2 games, we're going to find out about Tua once and for all because they're December games in the cold, away from home. Now, they're not against great competition. The Jets are, the Jets beat the Falcons. So they've got 4 wins now on the year, and the Steelers are just collapsing.
The Jets have 3 wins.
The Jets are up to 3 wins on the season now. The Steelers are collapsing in on themselves. So it's like these are 2 big games coming up on the road in cold weather that, traditionally the Dolphins have stunk in those situations. And so now they're going to go and do it again. And can they overcome those narratives? You would love to have the opportunity to say, well, can they do it on the road against a good opponent? At this point, I don't know that I don't know that they won't have that opportunity to win on the road against a good opponent in the cold until the final week of the season. against the Patriots. And we don't know at this point whether that game is even going to mean anything or not. But yes, the Tua thing is really very much the elephant in the room, and you can kind of sweep it under the rug when the Dolphins win the games like they did against Washington 2 weeks ago and like they did yesterday against the Saints. But now, if that play is going to cost you a chance to win, then you got to confront it head on. And Tua did his best to brush it off early in the season. And then eventually took ownership of it, but still has not corrected that behavior. It's been pretty dire for most of the season at this point. That doesn't mean that there haven't been flashes of Tua being, the old Tua, but there's a body of evidence, and the body of evidence suggests that he's mostly bad Tua. But let's shift away from the bad and let's talk about some good here, Brain, because there is some good to talk about. And when you're going to talk about good with this Miami Dolphins team, the only place to start is with Devon Achane. He is absolutely, by miles and miles and miles, the best player on this team. It's not even close, Brain. He is just tremendous. And boy, whoever that new GM is, when they come in this summer, they're going to have to make a decision on Devon Achane. 22 carries, 134 yards, an average of 6.1 yards a carry with a touchdown. Didn't catch a pass in this game, but he was doing so great on the ground that it was hard to imagine why you would even think about doing something other than that. But this was just a tremendous performance from Devon Achane yet again, Brain.
Yeah, and he just, he finds a crease. He's so slippery. He runs tougher than you expect him to, but he's just so explosive. And it's just like they're starting to figure it out, as far from an offensive line perspective on how to block. They're getting the outside zone runs. They're getting some of the inside stuff going. They're figuring it out as an offensive line and as a running game in general. And that makes Devon Achane just extremely dangerous, because if you give this guy space, he's just a big play waiting to happen. And so there just aren't enough superlatives that you can say about him. He's having a tremendous year. He should make his first Pro Bowl this year. Just having an absolute banner year. And look, there's only two decisions. There's only two choices. He's not coming back and playing on the last year of his rookie deal. You're either going to pay him a bunch of money or you're going to trade him. And the way this team, it kind of feels like they're positioning themselves in that they don't really want to go through a whole major rebuild. I find it hard to believe that they're going to trade him, even if I believe that might actually be the heady move to make. And so, look, he's at this point, he's so clearly your best player. He's absolutely a fan favorite. He's doing it from a production standpoint. You're just going to have to pay him.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to. He's just been terrific. So clearly the most valuable player on this team. I mean, we'll do end of season awards, but I mean, at this point, I'm hard pressed to think of anybody else who is even in the same tier as him in terms of nominees for most valuable player for this team this season. So
I'll go a step further. I don't know that the Dolphins win a football game this year if Devon Achane isn't on their team.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably win that game against Atlanta, given how it played out without him. But
yeah, maybe.
But that had more to do with the fact that Kirk Cousins couldn't move than anything else. But yeah, I mean, point taken for sure. Let's talk about some other good in this game, because there was more. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick having a very good game. Chop Robinson had a very good game. Bradley Chubb had a very good game in this game. He's still, failing to finish some sacks, but he is He's still doing well there on his end. On the other side of the ball, we had the return of Austin Jackson. And while, there were a handful of moments that Austin Jackson didn't look great, there were some other moments where it was really like, oh yes, I'm much, much happier to see Austin Jackson in there over Larry Borum. And I think when you really look at the Dolphins offensive line, for the most part, I thought particularly when they were running the ball, when the Dolphins were really committing to the run, it was one of the first times in a long time that you saw, and probably the first time ever in the Mike McDaniel era, where you looked at like, oh, the Miami Dolphins, is this Miami Dolphins offense kind of tough? Are they playing a kind of more physical brand of football? I know there are some people that are filling it up like they've completely changed their identity, and I don't know that I completely agree with that, but they are really working on transforming to being a bit more of a physical team in the trenches. And while I don't know that they've got all of the pieces that they need to fully become that, the fact that they seem to be making an effort to do that, and granted, are they doing it because they're trying to avoid riding on the quarterback? Possibly, but they are doing it, and they're committing to it for stretches. They're not fully committing to it, but they are committing to it at stretches. And when they're doing it, it does seem to be working, particularly with, the three-headed monster in the backfield with Achane. We saw Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon as well.
Yeah. Well, I think, look, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yes,
So
indeed.
They had all the injuries at tight end, and they said, all right, well, instead of just putting everything on Greg Dulcich, we're going to put six offensive linemen out there, and we're going to start using Daniel Brunskill, even though that was something that they hadn't done at all prior to that decision. And that changed the way that they were able to run the football. It changed the numbers. And now you get Julian Hill back. And Julian Hill, I know he's much maligned. He's not amazing or anything. But he's become a decent, an adequate run-blocking tight end. And so you get a run-blocking tight end out there. You get a sixth offensive line out there, like an extra tackle out there. Plus you've got a fullback. It's a numbers game at some point. And then your running back is Devon Achane. If you've got more blockers than they have tacklers, there's a very good chance that Devon Achane is going to break a very positive play. And so they've made it into this numbers game, and it's become it really is the bread and butter of the offense right now, because the bread and butter of the offense, what used to be getting the ball to their receivers, their playmakers, their Tyreek Hill and their Jalen Waddles, when there's only one of those guys and it's Jalen Waddle and it's not Tyreek Hill, it's nice to have, but it's clearly not something that you can just build your offense around with this quarterback, especially with the limitations of Tua. So it has to be the foundation. It has to be the bread and butter of the offense. And it is getting better. Do I think that, for the first time in a long time, they look physical? No, I would say if you look back at 2023, prior to the injuries to Rob Hunt and to Isaiah Wynn and to Connor Williams, I would say that the Dolphins were a very physical running team that year. And then they just had a ton of injuries. And so I think there is proof of concept there that they can be this type of running offense. And we're starting to see that really over the last month of the season. They're one of the better running football teams in the league now. And if this team is going to make a run, it's going to be on the backs of that, because it's certainly not going to be on the backs of Tua. Now, just want to go back to, we were talking about players that played well in the good in this game. You can't talk about the players that played well in this game and are playing well in general without talking about Jordan Brooks, because Jordan Brooks has been the heart and soul of this defense all season long. And I know the defense started the season off and it was a sieve. It was one of the worst defenses in the league, and it's gotten better, and it's not amazing by any stretch. It's still a limited defense, but Jordan Brooks brings it every game. And he's another guy. I don't know if he's going to make a Pro Bowl, but he's in the upper echelon right now of linebackers. He's got to be at least in the upper third of the league, maybe the upper quartile of the league, like a top 8 linebacker right now. He's having a
Jordan Brooks leads the National Football League in tackles.
Yeah, in tackles, like it's not necessary. It's not the end all be all stat,
Still,
but it means you're the one that's making the play. And you know, the majority of the tackles that Jordan Brooks are making, they are impact tackles. He's not missing a whole bunch of tackles. Is he the greatest, you know, in coverage? You know, is he like always in the right hole? Is he like just an absolute game wrecker? No, he's not an but he's a very, very solid piece. And another piece that we're going to talk about in the offseason, because he's going to be coming into the last year of his contract. He's a piece, given his age, the way he's playing, and what they're building on defense, because they are very young on that side of the ball. He's a piece that I think you can build around, that I think could be here as a significant piece for whatever the next iteration of this Dolphins roster is.
Yeah, I mean, truly what they're getting out of Jordan Brooks, it's amazing to me that he was the guy that was basically let go by the Seahawks in the middle of last season. And he's really
No, that was Dobson. Dobson.
That's right. I'm thinking of Tyrell Dodson, but Jordan Brooks has been just a tremendous addition.
Dodson, for as bad as he was at the beginning of the season, he's even
turned it around.
Yes. He's even played better.
Which
I think all of that, like if you look at all of these defensive players, you know, somebody in the comments said Zeke Biggers.
Yeah,
Jordan Phillips played well.
Jordan Phillips.
Kenneth Grant is becoming, you know, he's not a splash play guy, but you know, he's there. Zach Sealer's been playing better. Minkah Fitzpatrick has been making more plays. We've seen the improvement of Jack Jones. We've seen the improvement of Dante Trader. We've seen Rasul Douglas become a stabilizing force and play pretty well.
Rasul Douglas with a big interception that he was too slow to take all the way to the house.
Yeah, in spite of his obvious physical limitations, has been the best cornerback on the team. And when you look at all these guys that are coming into their own and they're progressing, the thing that I take away from that is Anthony Weaver is doing a good job with this defense. But on the flip side, I look at the offense and I say, Tua looks like he's regressing. And Jalen Waddle looks like he's regressing. And Alec Ingold looks like he's regressing. And, you know, and the offense as a whole is regressing, while the defense, which started the season off as the problem area, is getting better. And I say, well, if Anthony Weaver's doing a great job, and Mike McDaniel's job is to coach the offense. I know he's the head coach, and I know the team's won 4 out of 5. But what does that say about the job that Mike McDaniel is doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we'll leave that to everybody to discuss amongst themselves. One last thing on Devon Achane. There are currently 2 men in the National Football League with more rushing yards than Devon Achane. Jonathan Taylor and James Cook. That's it. Devon Achane, first 1,000-yard rushing season, and you know, and he's holding up really well. I mean, he's one of those guys who's like a tiny bones. You know, he's typically been one of those guys that's had injury problems, and he's having his contract year season. He's not in a contract year, but he's making his money right now this year on the field for sure. Other good players that you want to remark on, but Riley Patterson 4-4 with an extra point in this game.
How about Mr. Pumpkin Bagel?
Oh, Darren Waller back. Darren Waller back.
Pumpkin Bagel season.
Looking good in his limited playing time. It's been great. Listen, Greg Dulcich continues to be a really interesting player for this team on offense. Talk about Riley Patterson. The success of Riley Patterson has made it such that Jason Sanders does not need to come back. I don't know if Jason Sanders is going to have a job next season. Based on how well.
Look, there's enough, like the Saints place kicker.
Not with with the Dolphins.
No, I'm saying that what I'm saying is that look at the Saints kicker in this game. They signed him off the scrap heap and he made a 56-yard field goal.
Yeah.
And he had a good onside kick. We don't need to be overpaying for a kicker.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to be. The kickers right now, they are so good. Like, yes, you need to have a reliable kicker, but there are so many good. You don't need to overpay for a kicker.
Yeah.
If it's a missing piece on your team and you're like, our team is really, really good, but we really have this shaky kicker and that might cost us a game in the playoffs on the way to a championship, then okay, overpay for the kicker to be your missing piece. But when you're a team that is clearly like not in championship mode and you're just building something, you don't need to be sacrificing other more important positions on your team because you're overpaying a kicker.
Yeah. So that is today's kicker discourse. Other good before we get to the ugly, Brain?
I mean, they beat the Saints 21-17, and that was on the backs of a pick 2. So there can't be that much good.
Yeah. I think let's get into the ugly here. And for me, it's the ugly is that this was in many ways same old Dolphins. Trouble lining up, trouble getting the right guys in, trouble finishing drives. It's a lot of the same problems that we've seen for years with this team. And then the game was 16-0 at halftime. And it really felt like the Dolphins the game should have been over at halftime. When that game was at halftime, I think I sent out a post on Blue Sky where I was like, the Dolphins have completely dominated the first half of this game and go into halftime up only 2 scores. And it's like, that was a big problem. Like, they just let New Orleans hang around because they couldn't finish drives. And then we get to the end of the game and lo and behold, you let a team hang around, they're going to figure it out. And when your defense is having to be out there and put in that work over and over and over again because the offense can't get anything done. This was another same old Dolphins thing. How many times have we seen the Dolphins defense come out there and play a good game, but because the offense can't put the game away, the defense eventually is out there at the end of the game running on fumes and gets beat. And that's what happened here. So that was one of the things that was ugly to me. I mean, I think I would probably put Tua in the ugly category. I would think the fact that Mike McDaniel continued to try to outsmart himself when the running game was working so well, he keeps yes, when the running game is working, the other team is going to provide you looks to try to stop you from running the ball. But until they actually stop you from running the ball, continue to run the ball, especially when you're doing it at the level that you have done it. Don't overthink it. Don't outsmart yourself. It's one of the staple problems that I've had with Mike McDaniel for years is that he always does that. He always defaults to the analytic mind of, well, they're giving me this look, so I'm going to go do something else. No, stick with what you want to do. And until they show you that they can actually stop it, trust that your team has the ability to continue to deliver.
Yeah,
so
it's a flaw.
Mike in the chat is saying that McDaniel losing a challenge, bring his career challenge record to 421 was an ugly. I'm not going to put that in the ugly because I thought it was a good challenge. I didn't think he was necessarily going to win the challenge, but I thought it was a good challenge because it wasn't conclusive either way.
And it was a significant play.
And it was a big play. Yes.
Yeah. In a big moment of the game. But I agree with you that the ugly for me is Mike McDaniel and the way that he called this game. And it's a flawed logic because it seems like it would be like, oh yeah, if they give you this, then if they give you, more guys in the box, then they're susceptible to the pass. If they give you a light box, then they are susceptible to the run. That's all well and good if your offense is built to do both things really well. But right now, you have a quarterback that's extremely limited. Your wide receiver, your core is, at this point, it's Jalen Waddle and it's Darren Waller. Like it's not this explosive receiving core with Tyreek Hill anymore. It's clearly the weak link on the team. So you can't continuously let your opponent dictate the terms. Like, you can't let the opponent say, hey, we're going to take this away from you and make you beat us. If they make you do that, okay, great. Make them do that. But if they can't stop you, then you're just beating yourself. And that's what oftentimes he's doing. He's outsmarting himself. He's trying to zig while the opponent is zagging. But this is not a dynamic enough offense. There's not enough talent, particularly at quarterback. Because if you had a quarterback that could take advantage of that, then I would say, yeah, absolutely. But that's just another, mark against Tua as a quarterback, is the fact that, yeah, if you wanted to be this optimal offense that could beat you in any multitudes of ways, that, no matter how you play us, we're going to have something that can beat you. Well, we don't have that ability, because teams, but prior to that, teams were saying, well, the Dolphins can't run the ball even when we put light boxes. So we're going to just put light boxes. The Dolphins are going to run the ball, and they're going to get like 2 yards, and then we're going to get them into like 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and they're going to be throwing the ball into, 7-8 man coverages. Well, now it's the opposite. Now the Dolphins can run the ball, but Tua is extremely limited. There's no Tyreek Hill to bail him out in the downfield passing game. So now they're saying, well, let's load up the box. Let's stop this run, because we don't think that Tua can beat us. And frankly, they're right. Like, if this wasn't, look, the Saints have a pretty good defense. It's not an amazing defense or anything, but the Saints have a pretty good defense, and Tua looked kind of handled. The Washington Commanders had a bad defense, and Tua looked bad. What's going to happen when this team actually goes up against a good defense? They're not going to be like, Tua's not going to be able to win them these games. They're going to need to rely on that running game. I just don't think they're a complete enough offense to really do what Mike McDaniel wants them to do. So you have to understand your personnel, and you have to adjust. I think in some ways they have. Like, at the end of the day, you look at the run-pass splits, the Dolphins did a nice job in this game. I think they ran the ball like, 30, they had 32 carries. Tua, and they had, Tua threw the ball 23 times and also took 4 sacks. But I guess he also scrambled 4 times. So realistically, they actually did throw the ball. They did call 31 passing plays to 27 running plays. So that was closer to even, but that probably should have been swapped. It probably should have been 31 running plays to 27 passing plays. Yep. And so we need to continue to see that. That's my ugly of this, is the continue. And it's nothing new. We've seen it since Mike McDaniel has been here. He gets excited. He wants to go for the big play, and he can't help himself. And a lot of offensive coordinators who become head coaches, a lot of these play callers fall into that same thing. The thing is, if you don't have a really great quarterback, you can't be relying on that really on the quarterback. You've got to go with your bread and butter. And I know that historically, over the last few years, the bread and butter for this offense has been the passing game, the intermediate passing game. It's just no longer the bread and butter of this team. The most effective thing that this team is doing right now is they're bringing in a 6th offensive lineman, they're bringing in a tight end and a fullback, and they're running the football. So lean into that, especially this time of year. We're getting into December. You want to win cold weather football games? You're running the ball well? Let's lean into that as our identity.
Yeah, just do it. Run it. Run the ball. Run the damn ball. All right, well, we're just about done here. The one last thing we got to do is we got to ask everybody for their pulse check. So this is where we ask you for one word to describe how you are feeling about the Miami Dolphins right now. Brain, let's check your pulse.
Oh, we don't have a drop anymore?
I'm not playing that drop anymore. I
Not even,
decided at
another
the end
day
of
to
last
death,
season when he
another day
needed to be
closer to
fired that
death?
I was done with the drop.
Not even another day closer to death?
No, I mean, I guess I could play that drop too, but
Yeah. All right, whatever. No drop. At this point, I'm just amused. Like it's comedy because it's so obvious to me that this is not a playoff team. This is not a team that's going to win out. This is not even if by some miracle that happened to happen, like it's not a team that in any way, shape, or form is challenging for anything of substance. They're not going to win anything. They're not challenging for a championship. And it's the same mistakes. It's the same flaws. And they're struggling and they're squeaking by, and the fans are getting excited. They're showing the in the hunt graphic. And it's all a joke. It's all a big joke. And we're in the elaborate setup of the joke that we've seen a million times. It's the setup. It's like watching like an old slapstick comedy. You see the setup of the joke seconds, sometimes minutes before it happens. And that's what we're watching. We're watching the big setup of this joke where the Dolphins are going to get into it. They might even get another win. They might get to 6-7. Heck, Aaron Rodgers might miss that game against Pittsburgh. This team might make it to 500. Everybody's going to get excited. They're right in the hunt. And then they're going to fall flat on their face. Predictably so. It's not a question of if they will. It's a matter of when they will. And so I'm just amused. I'm amused at how caught up people are in it, and how fooled some people are and how delusional. I'm amused. I'm a little bit annoyed. I've been annoyed for a couple of weeks at them winning these games that I wish they would have lost. I'm past that. I am at peace with it. And at this point, I'm amused. I'm enjoying the ride. And when they fall flat on their face, I'm not going to be upset about it because I'm never going to have had my hopes up for it.
Right. I think that's a good way to be. And frankly, my word is facsimile. It's the same exact thing. It's the same thing on a fresh sheet of paper. We're seeing the same mistakes, the same problems. Yeah, there are some things, from year to year, there are little tweaks here and there, but the final result is all the same. The process might look different, but the end result is the facsimile of what it's always been before. And we're like sprinting towards that, same old Dolphins record of it used to be anywhere from 9-7 to 7-9. And now it is anywhere from 10-7 to 7-10. We're charging right for it. So it's a facsimile. I'm in the kind of same place where I'm kind of watching with an amused detachment of everything that is happening. I'm not super emotionally invested in the games week in and week out. I'm watching it more as a, almost as not quite a neutral observer, but like I said, I'm watching the team from arm's length, and I'm watching what's happening. I'm making note of who are the players that are doing well, and who are the players that are not doing well. But as I kind of indicated at the top of the show tonight, I've kind of given up the idea that, like, listen, in my brain, would it have been better if this team had just lost every game for the rest, when they hit 2-7, if they had just lost out? Yeah, obviously that would have been, I think, a very strong way to, potentially have Mike McDaniel get relieved before the end of the season, which is ultimately, I think, what we would have wanted, because then we would have for sure been rid of him. As it stands right now, we're going to have to wait for there's no way he's getting relieved in the middle of the season now. He's got 5 games left. He's going to be here at least through the rest of the season. And then when a new GM is hired, he will learn his fate based on what that general manager decides. But for the most part, this season is just a facsimile of everything else that we've seen from this team. And so I can't bring myself to get too up about it or too down about it. It's just at this point, I'm now almost watching, not like I said, not a neutral observer, but pretty close at this point in time. So anyway, that's it. Let's see if we've gotten any. Jordan Murray says, pulse check, Matt. I was so busy today getting back from Thanksgiving that I didn't even have a chance to like go into the Discord and pose it to our subscribers. So I didn't give them a chance to give their feedback today. But yeah, I mean, I imagine that their responses would have all been very similar to that as well. So anyway, that's where we are here. That's where we're all feeling. Brain, any parting words for the people before we get out of here?
On to the Meadowlands.
On to the Meadowlands. That's right. On Thursday, we're going to sing the song. And then on Sunday on Patreon, we're going to sing the song. We might even get Mike to sing the song on Sunday. So here we go. This is the last kind of final push for this. If you have ever been thinking about joining Dolphins Talk Extra, this is the time to do it. Head on over to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern tonight. Get 50% off a yearly subscription. And then after that, you're going to be in great shape. So you're going to have all kinds of bonus content all for the rest of this season and all through the off season as well into next season. So take advantage of it. Or if you can't, if you don't have the means to do a full yearly subscription, you can get your first month for $1. So the Black Friday deal ends at midnight tonight is BF25, 50% off a half-year membership. And then you can get your first month for $1 all the way through the end of the regular season with the promo code DTXmas. That's patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Hope you'll come join us over there. Make sure you download, rate, review, subscribe to the Same Old Dolphin Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, everywhere you get your podcast. Make sure that you're visiting dolphinstalk.com each and every day. Make sure you're going to caneswear.com for all the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins gear on the planet. How about the MLS Cup finalist Inter Miami FC? Get their stuff over there at caneswear.com as well. We mentioned the Marlins at the top of the show today. You can get Marlins gear there, all kinds of good stuff over there at caneswear.com. They ship internationally as well. So a great time to take advantage of the deals at Caneswear for your holiday shopping needs. Speaking of holiday shopping needs, Dolphins Talk Extra. Set it up. Hook up the Dolphin fan in your life. All right, that's going to wrap us up. We will be back Thursday to sing the song and look ahead to the game against the Jets. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, go Dolphins!
Not going to lie, when the Saints were going for 2, it's about as excited as I was all season.